1:15 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Romesh Piris and read by Geetanjali Ramanayaka. The headlines. The Minister of Power assures that there will be no power cuts. The Pfizer's second jab to be given to 16 to 19-year-old children from today. The government to allocate 40 billion rupees to pay compensation for the farmers. The Paddy Marketing Board to purchase paddy during the Maha season this year. The CAA to raid shops that sell cement at higher prices. The maximum amount granted under Obatagyak Ratata Hetak housing project increased. The Pakistan Foreign Minister highlights the importance of strengthening the existing fraternal relations with Sri Lanka. International news efforts continue as Ukraine tensions rise. Sports cricket, Australia's squad for Sri Lanka T20 series announced. News in detail. The Minister of Power, Gamini Lokuge, says that there will be no further power cuts. The minister made these statements following a discussion with President Gotabaya Rajapaksa last afternoon. He said the president had instructed him to present a program that can manage the power crisis without imposing power cuts. Special discussion was held on Monday between the President and officials of the Ministry of Power and the Ministry of Energy regarding the current power crisis. Meanwhile, the Minister of Energy, Udaya Gammanpila, said during the meeting the President had instructed the Governor of the Central Bank to issue dollars for clearing of 2 fuel tankers anchored at sea. The Minister of Energy further stated, accordingly, steps will be taken to release the required fuel and furnace oil to the Ceylon Electricity Board in the future. The second Pfizer vaccine dose will be administered to children between the ages of 16 and 19 from today. State Ministry of Pharmaceutical Production, Supply and Regulation Channa Jayasumna said, while many countries administer the second dose to the age group after 4 weeks, the Specialist Committee on Vaccination in Sri Lanka recommended the second dose to be administered after 3 months. Meanwhile, 26,571 Pfizer booster doses have been administered yesterday. The epidemiology unit of the Ministry of Health said 70,003 coronavirus vaccine doses were administered at vaccination centres across the island yesterday. According to the Ministry's report, a total of 16,421,857 people have received the first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine and 13,800,83,801 have received the second dose. In addition, 4,925,961 have received the third booster dose. The Agriculture Minister Mahindananda Alugamge says the Paddy Marketing Board will purchase paddy at 75 rupees per kilo during the Maha season this year. The minister said the government will pay an additional 25 rupees per kilo of paddy this Maha season to provide relief to farmers who cultivate paddy using organic fertilizer. The Consumer Affairs Authority has commenced island-wide raids and investigations to locate businessmen selling cement at higher prices than the stipulated rate. Accordingly, 56 cement outlets in the Colombo, Kalutra, Gampaha, Kandy, Kurunegala, Ratnapura, Badulla, Monragala, Anuradhapura, Galle and Hambantota districts were raided in the recent past. The Consumer Affairs Authority said, refusing to sell cement, citing a shortage while in possession of stocks, sale based on various conditions, and concealing stocks are considered offences. An amount subject to maximum of 600,000 rupees per selected beneficiary family is granted under Obatagyak Ratata Hetak project based on the construction progress of a house under this project implemented for low-income families residing in temporary houses. Followed by the inauguration of the project in the year 2020, cost of construction materials have been escalated by multiple amounts, and due to this, it has been difficult to construct an appropriate complete house with the stipulated grant. Therefore, the Cabinet of Ministers has decided to grant their approval to the proposal submitted by the Prime Minister as the Minister of Urban Development and Housing for increasing the amount of the grant paid under the programme to the selected beneficiary families up to 650,000 rupees with effect from the year 2022. Pakistan's Foreign Minister Makhdoom Shah Mahmood Qureshi has highlighted the importance of strengthening the existing fraternal relations with Sri Lanka through high-level exchanges when he received the Sri Lankan Minister of Trade, Dr. Bandula Gunawardena, at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Islamabad recently. The Foreign Affairs Ministry said in a press release that Minister Dr. Gunawardena and State Minister for Regional Cooperation, Tharaka Balasurya, along with an important trade delegation are visiting Pakistan from the 20th to the 27th of January. The foreign minister underlined the need to capitalize on the immense goodwill that exists between Pakistan and Sri Lanka by expanding cooperation across diverse areas including trade and investment, tourism, culture, education, defence, agriculture and human resource development. The epidemiology unit of the Ministry of Health states that the number of COVID-19 cases confirmed in the country has risen to 602,763 with a detection of 877 patients yesterday. Among the cases were 8 recent arrivals from overseas. And the total recovery stands at 576,324. The epidemiology unit of the Ministry of Health said 11,126 persons are currently being treated for the coronavirus at several facilities. 14 deaths due to the coronavirus were reported yesterday, raising the total to 15,313. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The Government Medical Officers Association has prepared a technical report on how Sri Lanka should face Omicron and future new variants of COVID-19 virus. The GMOA panel, consisting of clinical specialists, community health specialists, epidemiologists, virologists, histopathologists and medical officers, recently set up a 12-member expert committee to study and prepare a report on how Sri Lanka should face the Omicron COVID variant or new variants that they may emerge in the future. The report, Facing Omicron and Future New Variants of SARS-CoV-2 Virus, is to be presented to the President, the Minister of Health and the health authorities, and the report has been released to the media. A stock of 300 kilograms of heroin worth 3 billion rupees that was seized during a raid in international waters south of Sri Lanka is due to be brought to the Colombo port today. The Navy said 11 suspects were taken into custody along with 2 trawlers during the operation. And that ends local news for now, and the main news story follows.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The Cabinet of Ministers has granted approval to allocate 40 billion rupees to provide compensation to farmers for crops damaged during the 2020 Maha season. The Cabinet papers was presented by the Minister of Agriculture, Mahindananda Alutgamge. Speaking during the weekly Cabinet media briefing at the Department of Government Information today, Minister Alutgamge said the compensation will be provided under the 229 billion rupees relief package announced by the government recently. He said paddy farmers used around 800,000 hectares of land for cultivations during the Maha season. He assured that compensation to all 1,049,000 farmers will be given for the crops damaged during the Maha season. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
In Washlight, children within the age group of 16 to 19 who have completed 3 months since the first dose of COVID-19 vaccine started to receive their second from yesterday. State Minister of Production, Supply and Regulation of Pharmaceuticals, Professor Channa Jayasumana, requested parents to send their children to get themselves vaccinated within the relevant dose without hesitation or delay. Meanwhile, he said Sri Lanka will most likely face a massive surge of Omicron cases as global cases are expected to peak over the next couple of weeks. And that was Watchlight.
Coming up, World News.
In the headlines, efforts continue as Ukraine tensions rise. Burkina Faso military says it has seized power. Pakistan's first female Supreme Court judge sworn in. World News in detail now. Diplomatic efforts are continuing as tensions surrounding Ukraine rise amid growing fears of a possible Russian invasion. About 100,000 Russian troops have massed near Russia's border with Ukraine. The US and its allies are demanding their withdrawal. The United States is seeking a solution through dialogue with Russia, but it has placed 8,500 troops on alert for possible deployment to Europe if needed. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken said Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov met in Geneva on Friday. They failed to achieve a breakthrough but agreed to continue their dialogue. The military in Burkina Faso says it has seized power and withdrawn President Roch Kabore. The announcement was made on state television by an army officer who cited the deteriorating security situation for the military takeover. Mr. Kabore had faced growing discontent over his failure to stem an Islamic insurgency. His whereabouts are unclear, but the officer said that all those detained were in a secure location. The coup comes a day after troops seized barracks and gunshots were heard in the capital, Ouagadougou. Pakistan's first female Supreme Court judge has been sworn in the capital, Islamabad. Aisha Malik, aged 55, now sits on a bench with 16 other male colleagues in the Muslim-majority country's top court. Lawyers and activists said it was a rare victory after decades of struggle to get representation for women in Pakistan's male-dominated society. Back to the headlines of the world news. Efforts continue as Ukraine tensions rise. Burkina Faso military says it has seized power. Pakistan's first female Supreme Court judge sworn in. And that ends World News.
Development News is brought to you by Let's take all out of the coconut tree and make the island thriving and prosperous. Call our hotline 1928. WhatsApp 070 400 1928.
In development news, the Sri Lankan government is focusing on earning more foreign exchange by providing essential services to ships sailing from the African region to eastern countries through the port of Colombo. Sri Lanka's High Commissioner to South Africa, S. Amarasekara, says while ships sailing from Africa to countries including India often travel to ports such as Dubai or Singapore for services, and if the port of Colombo can seize the opportunity, Sri Lanka will be able to earn a large amount of foreign exchange. The High Commissioner said that discussions would be held between the shipping agents in Sri Lanka and South Africa to bring more such ships to the port of Colombo, and that it had been successful. And that was development news.
Development News was brought to you by the coconut tree is well grown in almost all the parts of the island. It is an exceptional source of extra income. The shell, the husk and almost all the parts of the coconut tree makes you money, providing you with an excellent extra source of income. It will also help to nourish the economy of the country. You will be guided with all necessary informations regarding the coconut cultivation, with the novel cultivation techniques and all other related and upgraded informations by the Coconut Research Institute, Lunavilla. Call our hotline 1928. WhatsApp 070 400 1928.
In sports, it's cricket. The Australia squad for Sri Lanka T20 series was announced recently. Ben McDermott has been recalled to Australia's T20I squad for the series against Sri Lanka next month, along with Travis Head, Moses Henriques and Jay Richardson. David Warner and Mitchell Marsh, who both starred during Australia's T20 World Cup triumph in the UAE, will be rested and off Pakistan's tour, while head coach Justin Langer, along with other support staff, will miss the 5-match series, meaning Andrew McDonald will take charge of the squad. And that is sports news.
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
And business news, Sri Lankan gemstones were showcased at a glamorous event hosted by the embassy in Beijing recently. Sponsored by the Lavina Gem Art Jewellery, a range of stunning Sri Lankan blue sapphires and other coloured stones were displayed. Around 100 invited guests, including many elite dealers, attended the event last week. Lavina Gem Art Jewellery sought to promote Sri Lanka's superb sapphires and also the gem industry. And that was business news.
Business News, sponsored by
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. Will you be the lucky winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee? 50 gold sovereigns for the top prize winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee. Scooters for the 10 second prize winners. iPhones for the 10 third prize winners. Mountain bikes for the 29 fourth prize winners. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Economic news, courtesy of Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
The Cabinet of Ministers has granted approval for Sri Lanka to enter several agreements to prevent double taxation on income tax and avoid tax evasion. Accordingly, agreements have been signed with India, Turkey and the Czech Republic. The Cabinet of Ministers approved the proposal presented by the Minister of Finance to sign the said agreement and to submit the aforesaid agreements to Parliament for approval as per the provisions of the Indian Revenue Act number 24 of 2017. And that was economic news.
I bought my daughter a laptop for her work by managing my finances. Whatever the expenses may be, I can't afford to miss out on life's special moments like her birthday or our anniversary. So you need to invest to make your family's future flourish.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibilities. That's why we promise to give you the best returns on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
The Weather Report.
The Department of Meteorology forecasts slight change in the prevailing dry weather. Showers or thunder showers will occur at several places in the western, Sabaragamuwa and northwestern provinces and in the Nuwara Eliya, Galle and Mathura districts, particularly during the evening or at night. Showers or thunder showers will occur at few places in the Anuradhapura and Vavuniya districts during the evening or at night. However, mainly fair weather will prevail elsewhere. That was the weather report. And to conclude this news broadcast, back to the headlines. The Minister of Power assures that there will be no power cuts. The Pfizer second jab to be given to 16 to 19-year-old children from today. The government to allocate 40 billion rupees to pay compensation for the farmers. The Paddy Marketing Board to purchase paddy during the Maha season this year. The CAA to raid shops that sell cement at higher prices. The maximum amount granted under Obatagyak Ratata Hetak housing project increased. The Pakistan Foreign Minister highlights the importance of strengthening the existing fraternal relations with Sri Lanka. International news efforts continue as Ukraine tensions rise. Sports cricket, Australia squad for Sri Lanka T20 series announced. And with that, we end this news broadcast.